everybody. This is Dr. Jeff McNairy. I am the Chief Medical Officer at Rythmia Life Advancement Center. So I'm filling in for Jerry, who's on vacation, and I'm really excited to speak with you guys today about a couple different things. What we got going on at Rythmia is a week-long retreat, and this is a very, very well thought out program that we offer you to get past all the things that are holding you back in life. That's why we call ourselves a Life Advancement Center. So we've had a lot of experience working with people from all over the world and teaching them how to connect back to who they really are as people and then move forward in a way that's different than before, because we all know that we have coping mechanisms that either have worn out their effectiveness or were never great in the first place. And so we want to give you guys some tools to move forward in life in a way that's productive and healthy and helps you connect with yourself and then connect with other people in a way that you feel that you would like to. So, a lot of the guests that we have at Rhythmia, we've had almost 20,000 people through our doors since we opened in 2016. And again, we're located in Costa Rica. The reason for that is because we offer a modality that we've worked out with the government of Costa Rica, the Ministry of Health, to be able to provide for you guys. And it's one of the several modalities we offer at Rhythmia. But this one is what we call a plant-based medicine. And the term that's in the world is called ayahuasca. And I'm sure you've heard about it, and that's probably why you're watching this video. And I want to talk a little bit about like just our overall program and how ayahuasca helps to get you where you want to be in life. So, a lot of you are working super hard. You're providing for your families. You are, maybe managing a lot of people at your job, or you're unemployed and you feel lost, or you're just, ready for a new phase of life and you don't know how to begin. Maybe your kids are all now out of the house. You're not sure, you kind of lost your identity. You're not sure who you really are. And you want to do something, you're feeling the calling to do something, positive for society, or even just a job that you can, feel good about. You're just not sure how to approach it. So what we've noticed in our clientele at Rhythmia is that a lot of you are this way. You're very loving to people around you. You're very open. You care for others, and it's a great trait. It's very nice. But often we notice is that you are neglecting yourself. You're helping everybody else around you, but you're neglecting you, and that's pretty common. There's a lot of careers that are that way. Like I'm a licensed doctor level psychologist. In my field, there's a lot of people that are giving and giving and giving and doing for others all the time, and they never really do anything for themselves. So what happens is over a lifetime of being that person in your family, in your job, in your community, that everyone kind of gravitates to and feels safe around you, or they feel that you have the answers. And you usually do because you're very wise. You've seen a lot of things. You have this kind of uncanny ability to predict and understand human nature. And you always give good recommendations to people, and people really like being around you. Now, if we could ask the people or that are around you if they know anything really about you, they would all think about it and say, well, so and so is a very nice person, and so is always there for us, and so is really grounded. They would say that, but they wouldn't really say anything that's specific about you. They wouldn't say, oh yeah, well, you were born in this place and you went through these struggles and you had this problem and you've overcome this. They wouldn't know any of those things. And why not? Because you haven't shared that with anybody. You've kept it all inside. And to be honest, the reason why you are this way is because you've never had the opportunity to address your own issues. So someone that is this way, that's very open to others and is constantly absorbing their emotional energy, we call it, they have projective identification with you. So someone comes up to you, even strangers do this, and they just start telling you things about their life, or they start, almost, it feels like they're dumping on you sometimes. And you're always very nice and you listen and you go, oh, yeah, yeah. And you might even give them a couple words of encouragement. But more than anything else, you just absorb their projective energy. And then that person goes about their day and they feel great. Like, oh, I'm so nice. I'm so nice to meet you. I'm glad I got to talk to you. What a cool thing. And then they just leave. and you're left holding all that emotional baggage. And you do that all day long. You do it with your friends, you do it with your family, you do it with your coworkers, you do it with strangers at the grocery store. And then at the end of the day, you are exhausted. And you think about what you did, and you just had a normal day of work or a normal day of whatever you're doing. But for some reason, you're really tired. And this sort of feeling of being overwhelmed at the end of the day is starting to become a theme. It didn't used to be this way when you're in your 20s or in your 30s, maybe in your 40s. You started to notice it. Now you're getting in the 50s and in the 60s. You're like, uh oh. And even in the 40s, you're noticing it. And even if you haven't noticed it, you got to be aware of this before it catches you. What's happening is the reason why you're starting to notice this more is because you're becoming flooded. You're becoming maxed out with how much emotional baggage you can hold for everybody else. And you're starting to behave very differently than you used to. And what you're starting to do is you're starting to isolate. You never isolate. You're starting to want to isolate, starting to drink alcohol. And if you already drank, you're drinking more than usual. You consider therapy. You consider workshops for 3-day weekends. You consider reading a bunch of self help books. And all that stuff that you try, none of it really does anything significant. While it might be good information and good knowledge, it doesn't really hit you in the way that you're hoping. And the interesting part about the therapy is you might go see a counselor or a psychologist or a master's level person or whatever, and you're kind of like you're not sure what's wrong, but you know that maybe this professional can help me. And you sit down and you quickly find out that in about a session and a half that the tables have completely turned and you are becoming the therapist to the therapist. And that therapist is sharing with you about their family and their issues and their marriage and whatever. And that therapist stops for a moment and says, huh, that's interesting. I feel really comfortable talking to you. And then they just keep going. And that the therapist chalks it up to you guys are just building rapport before you dig into therapy. That's what the therapist like tells themselves. But really what they're doing is they're just dumping on you like everybody else is. And so you quickly see that that's not going to be effective and you just drop out. So therapy, you've tried meds probably, you've tried drugs and alcohol, you've tried isolation, you've tried workshops, you've tried books, and none of it works. Well, I know why. Because you've gone through something, either a moment or an era of what we call dissociation that was very strong. You had to survive at some point in your life, usually under the age of 12, where it was you and you alone, and no one was watching out for your interests. And whether that was true or not factually doesn't really matter because that's how you felt as a kid. You might have the most amazing parents in the world, but you felt for whatever reason that your needs were not being met emotionally. And so if a kid feels that their developmental needs are not getting met, that's a scary thing for a kid, especially under the age of 12. Most of you, this happens around the age of 6, 7 or so, 8, maybe 5. That's where this sort of happens. And you realize, like, uh-oh, it's me against everybody. I have to take care of myself in this big, scary world. How am I going to do that? I'm just a kid. I don't have the empowerment to do anything. I don't even know how to explain how I feel because you're in kindergarten. You might be in first grade, but you just know that you're scared and there's some instinctive thing that starts to happen. It's a fight or flight response. And you're too little to fight adults or fight caregivers or to fight bullies or to fight your teachers. So you click into flight. Now you might not be able to run away. Flight doesn't mean necessarily run off. Flight means unplug and disconnect. Now, what happens when you unplug and disconnect at a very young age? What does that mean? Well, it means you are separated from your true self. In Arrhythmia, we teach that everybody goes through this in some way. Everybody on the planet goes through this dissociative unplugging, usually between the ages of like 2 and 7 for most people. Now, for those of you that have this very strongly, and that's who I'm talking to today, you can have it happen a little older, even like 8, 9, 10, like that. And so what happens is if you're unplugged from your true self and you're in a dissociative state, what that means is your body is not present with you. That means that your true self is kind of off to the side and your physical self is going through the motions behaviorally, eating, sleeping, going to school, taking a nap, doing what you're supposed to do. But your emotional part is not there because when the emotions are there, it's fear, worry, confusion, anger, all these emotions, because that's how you're being treated and you don't even know how to comprehend it. So those emotions get pushed off. And then you're just in your body, just you without your spiritual or emotional self going through the motions behaviorally. So then what happens is someone comes into your environment, a teacher, a neighbor, your brother, your sister, your parents. What happens is they notice subconsciously that you are pulling like a magnet to feel and absorb their emotional vibe, to put it into you. And if these people that are around you are, let's say, not stable in themselves, or maybe dysfunctional, or maybe looking for a break from who they are more than happy to project it onto you, even if you're a little kid. So you absorb this energy. And even if somebody is a good person and not trying to hurt you or abandon you, you still pull for who they are and you pull it into you. And then you feel who someone is. If you can feel who someone is, you know who someone is. It's very diagnostically accurate. So if you can pull in your kindergarten teacher's energy and hold it, how do you usually feel, right? How do you feel? Safe, calm, loving. Okay. Your teacher at kindergarten is a safe person. You can relax around her at school. How do you feel when you're around the neighbor whose behavior is a little odd? You feel dark, you feel unsettled, you feel scared. You don't know why, but you know that that person is not safe. So you completely stay away from them. And this becomes a compass that you use to navigate your whole life. And the good part of this is that you can read people very well. You can immediately, boom, tell who somebody is quickly. And it's also really good for a lot of different kinds of careers. You have very much high success in what you're doing because if you can read people or read environments, it's also about reading environments. Wow, you're one ahead. You're multiple steps ahead of the next person who doesn't do this. Interviews are no problem for you. You nail them. Everybody wants to hire you. Like it's just this incredible ability because you can read everybody around you. Now, this concept is called hypervigilance, and you've become hypervigilant. And so that can be kind of stressful. But before we get to that part, what happens in your life as you go through this? Well, you're never looking at you. You're never addressing anything about you. You are off to the side, and that happened when you realized that you were taking care of yourself. You were looking out for you. That's where the true you split. And so now, what is your own identity? You don't even know because it's a mixed bag of all these different things you've been holding and absorbing from everyone around you. And now you're not 5 or 6 or 7. Now you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever age you might be. And that's where you're starting to get flooded and you're maxed out and nothing's working. So, rythmia. Why does rythmia come in and what does our program offer you in a week that can help you figure this out and fix it? Well, what it does is it helps you realize that you're this way. Number one, it helps you see it and feel it and understand it. Number one. Number two, it helps you connect back with your true self. Now, for the person that is dissociated in this way and hypervigilant, the last thing they want to do is connect back to their true self. They're very resistant to it. And the reason you would think intellectually, well, why? Because don't you want to be connected? Not someone in this pit and in this space. No way. Because if you're connected, that means you're not hyper vigilant. That means you can get sneak attacked. That means you're vulnerable. That means someone could come and scare you. That means you can't read anybody. If you're present with yourself and connected to you, you are with yourself. And you learned at age 5, that's a very dangerous place to be. So you have to remember now, I'm not five. Whatever caused these circumstances when I was a kid are not present around me at Rhythmia. And you talk yourself through it. And you have this different level of understanding. And the plant medicine that we use, ayahuasca, helps tap in to the amygdala part of the brain. That's where the subconscious memories and emotions that created this dynamic for you are locked up. So you get to release those finally. Therapy couldn't do it, meds couldn't do it, alcohol couldn't do it, books couldn't do it, and workshops, 3-day workshops couldn't do it either. So this can do it because ayahuasca creates synaptic plasticity between the amygdala through the hippocampus into the prefrontal cortex, which is where our prefrontal cortex is where we have, oh my gosh, I remember that. That makes sense. That's weird. I see why that happened. It's your logical conscious self. And then you have all those emotions present in an ayahuasca session that you never resolved as a kid: anger, fear, guilt, shame, etc. And then what happens is you release them through a psychosomatic process. Now, the psychosomatic process means you purge it out. And what does a purge mean? That's why you hear about people that drink ayahuasca, they might throw up a little. That's a purge. That gets rid of emotion. People yawn in an ayahuasca session. That's my favorite purge. That's a release of energy. People go to the bathroom. That's a release of psychosomatic energy. They might sweat, or they might cry, or they might laugh. That's all a physical release of this emotional process you've been holding on to since you were a little kid. And then what happens is you learn that there's nothing wrong with you. You're a perfect individual. You went through something that made you survive, and you used survival tactics to get where you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now you have to learn how to plug into you when you want to heal and connect with yourself. So that's what the Rhythmia Way program teaches you how to do. Teaches you how to plug into you and then be hypervigilant when you need to and unplug to do your job or to assess a new person you're coming into contact with. Or if you're in a strange environment, you don't know what's going on, you can do this natural instinctive thing that you do and become hypervigilant and unplug and read and feel and completely have amazing assessment ability, even better than before, because you're no longer holding on to all the baggage that you had since you were five. Now you're a clean slate all the time because you realize that this is not my energy. It's not who I am. I'm not picking up on this darkness, and it's not me. It's this person. You have this really distinctive ability to sort out what's going on. And then when you plug into you, you realize, huh, I'm actually a really cool person. I have all these cool traits. I'm a loving person. I'm smart, or whatever it is that is about you. Now, a 5-year-old doesn't do that easily because what does a 5-year-old think? If their caregivers are not meeting their emotional developmental needs, does the 5-year-old say, oh, well, it's okay. My parents are kind of just, they're very immature. Maybe my dad is an alcoholic and my mom got pregnant when she was 19 with me and she's a kid. No, you're only five. You don't understand any of that stuff. What you thought at age 5 was this: the reason I'm not getting my needs met is because I'm not deserving of them. Something's wrong with me. I'm a bad kid. I'm broken. I don't deserve love. That's what a child thinks if their emotional developmental needs are not getting met. So that is a very scary place for a 5-year-old to be. That is catastrophic for a child to feel. So a child instinctively will not sit in that space for long. They immediately flip and they click into this dissociative thing that helps them push through and survive without dealing with those emotions that created the flip. So what happens then at Rhythmia, and if this is you, and there's a lot of people that come to Rhythmia that this is matches them, what happens is you get to connect back to you. You get to see, oh my gosh, when I was 5, I thought that something was wrong with me. I thought that I was a bad kid. I thought my parents didn't love me. But I see that it wasn't anything to do with me. I'm a perfect being. I was an angel. 5-year-old kids are perfect little beings. It's not about me. It's about my parents. It's about my in-laws. It's about my neighborhood. It's about my classmates that I had to survive. And so this thing that clicked that made me think that I don't deserve love or don't deserve to be happy is not real. It's not true. And I've based my whole life around it to survive. And thank goodness I've evolved it into this amazing ability. But now it's time to connect to who you really are and get past all that emotional baggage. People often say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel depressed. I feel anxious. I feel suicidal. I feel like I'm a drug addict. I want to use. I'm not using maybe, but I want to. What's wrong with me? Who am I? None of that is your energy. None of it. It's all everyone else is around you that you've been absorbing since you were 5 years old. It's a mixed bag of a lot of stuff, but it's not even you. It has nothing to do with you. If you've been taking meds, lots of different meds over your lifetime, and you define as one of these people, those meds have been for your mom. Those meds have been for your siblings. Those meds have been for your friends. Those meds have been for your teachers. Those are not for you. You don't need those meds. Those meds were misdiagnosed as your issues. They're not. So this process at Rhythmia helps you get past all of that and release it and connect back to who you are. Now, some people say, well, how do I, if this is who I am and I do this, how do I not get flooded again? How do I don't want to lose this ability. I'm in sales and I'm amazing. I'm the number one in the company. It's because I do this. You're not going to lose it. It's part of who you are, but you're going to recognize it when you're using it. You're going to use it intentionally. You're going to be able to turn it off when it's not necessary. When you're at home trying to sleep, you don't need to be hyper vigilant, but you have been. And that's why you have insomnia. That's why you cannot sleep. And by the way, we all love pets. We all love dogs and cats and pets. You really do. More than normal. You love your dogs. You love them. They're the only things you really trust. That's a good indicator. Now, why is that? Aside from dogs being amazing and perfect as well, why is it that you have an affinity for pets in particular and you're really good with the animals? Why? Because those are the only living things that are not projecting onto you their emotional pain. Everybody else does. That's your role. That's what you've told yourself. So you're not going to lose this ability, but you're going to be able to turn it on when you need it and turn it off when you don't need it. And that's how you become powerful in this hypervigilant, empathic connection that you've unfortunately was imposed upon you as a little kid. So this is the type of stuff we deal with at Rhythmia every week. We're open every week of the year except for the week in December for the holidays, like the third week in December. We're open every single week. We have people from all over the world coming to Rhythmia, and they all do amazing. We have such a high success rate. It's incredible. And the reason is because we empower you to do this process. We help you figure out who you are. That's why it sticks. That's why you can continue with this momentum afterward. Ayahuasca is one of the many tools we use. We have breath work, we have classes, we have guest speaker workshops, we have hydrocolonic, gravity fed, ozonated water cleanses. We have amazing, super high vibrational food. We have body work with massage. We have cold plunge, sauna. We have a pool. We have downtime. We have yoga every morning, meditation classes, tons of stuff to help you do exactly what I'm talking about. Plug into who you are, heal whatever you've been holding on to, get clear with what your goals are, and then move forward in a productive way with tools that are practical and realistic. We also have an app that we give you when you leave that helps you integrate everything you've learned. It's a 13-week program with free groups, free modules, free all kinds of stuff that's super cool. So we want you to continue this momentum after Rhythmia. So that's a lot to think about, right? This likely is exactly what you needed to hear. I often give this lecture, and by the way, I hit upon this on my Thursday class. I go deeper into it. This is something that people hear this, they go, oh my gosh, this is in a way simple, but yet it's so complex and it's defined my entire life. And again, you fine tune it to make it match you, but this is a very common theme that I've seen with guests of Rhythmia and with people in general in the world that I've worked with in my 35 years of being a clinical person in mental health. It's a very common theme, and nobody really knows how to address it. I've been lucky that I've been able to have a lot of people in my practice that had this condition that I got to see this. I also have this condition for other reasons as well. My parents were not abusive or abandoning, but my neighborhood was such that I had to survive in a very violent environment outside of the home. So I had to use this tool to navigate my street life and leaving the house at any time. I had to turn it on. And that's what led me to be dissociated and hypervigilant and an empathic person. Is probably why I became a therapist, right? I mean, because it makes sense, matches my personality. So we're looking forward to having you guys come down to Costa Rica. Call our number, call our 800 number and book your stay. Come down. If you've already been to Rhythmia, if you feel like a reboot, a retuning, come back down. We'll hook you up. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. I hope it helped. See you guys soon. Bye.